and I was, literally walking cornrows about an hour before this podcast, took a shower, threw on a clean t-shirt, and got ready to rumble. It's the lifestyle. It's the lifestyle for me, at least, and I know that, most people, if they could sit in that big tractor all day, they would, man. It's about as good as it gets. Just the greasiest banger I've ever been on, though, with Two Street for Guided Outdoors and Shelby Anderson. We hit them badly with 18 guns. I think this was the fall of 2015, maybe the fall of 2014. We had lessers, we had specs, we had snows, pintails, mallard, and widgeon for a total of 145.
Tejas. The podcast is the podcast for you and you. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 22 of the Tejas Hunt Club podcast. I'm your host, Brandon McDow, and this week we're going to be sitting down with Johnston of Lone Star Wetlands up in Paris, Texas. So they actually manage and run a bunch of property where they farm commercially for crops, but they also farm it for waterfowl. From the numbers that he's telling me, they're doing a very, very good job of it as well. So on today's episode, we're going to be sitting down with him, kind of talking about how they got started back in 2010 and where they are now and where they plan to go in the future. If you like duck hunting, this is going to be the podcast for you. This is our first duck hunting podcast. It's really, really cool for me because I'm not a duck hunter. Not that I don't like it. I like shooting shotguns, but I just didn't ever have the opportunity to go duck hunting that much. So it's something I'm really interested in. And as you can tell from the questions I ask in this podcast, I'm very, very novice at it. But it is something that's very interesting. So if you want to learn a little bit more about duck hunting, this podcast, like I said, is going to be the one you want to listen to. And also, before we get started in the podcast, forgot to mention, Megan's going to be sitting in on this one. As always, we've had a lot of content rolling out. Last week, we dropped a video of our doing a little prep for our whitetail property that we're going to be hunting on this year. The range day video that we did for the Professional Outdoor Media Association. We've had the redfish videos with Captain Barry Garrison down on the coast, sight casting reds with him. So we've had a lot of content on YouTube, and then also a lot of stuff, a lot of reels and things on Instagram. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, make sure you go check out the page and hit that follow button. And like I said, same thing on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you can get all the videos and stuff that we come out with. We're coming out with a gear video this Sunday, which will drop, I think it's the 24th of this month. We're going to be talking about our gunner kennel. As most of you know, we have two awesome dogs, and we like to take them everywhere we go. So a couple years ago, we made a decision to go with a gunner kennel. Just from the things we've heard about it and seen people using it and stuff in the outdoor industry. And we bought it. We've had it for 2 years now. I mean, we've traveled to Georgia with them. We've traveled to Montana with them and all over, of course, the state of Texas. So we're going to do a video, kind of break down why we like that kennel, the good things about it, and maybe some of the things we don't like about it as well. So that video is going to be dropping this weekend. Head over to the YouTube channel, watch it, and, of course, subscribe. This past weekend, we went down to San Antonio for the TWA convention. Awesome first time going to that convention. Got to go sit down at the luncheon, see the Texas Big Game Awards. One thing I learned at that event was that they have a Texas Slam, which is actually a whitetail, a mule deer, a pronghorn antelope, and a javelina. Obviously, native animals to Texas. If you shoot all four of those in the same year, you could enter into the Texas Big Game Awards and get the Texas Slam. So that's been added to the list. Mule deer and pronghorn is something I wanted to hunt always, but to shoot all four in 1 year is a pretty good goal to put out there and strive for. There's multiple people that did it this year and got the award. So that's the update on what we're doing for now. As always, we're going to have a lot more stuff coming out as deer season gets closer, hunt dove season also. So we appreciate you listening and follow along. Let's get into the podcast with Johnston and learn about farming for ducks. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Tejas Hunt Club podcast. I'm your host, Brandon McDow, and I'm also joined by Megan McElroy today. And then we're going to be doing a podcast with Johnston of Lone Star Wetlands. We've been following his page for a little while on Instagram. They're heavy into farming for waterfowl, and I wanted to get him on here, kind of talk about their operation, get a little insight on what it takes to get ducks consistently. I mean, I'm pretty novice in duck hunting. Like, I really didn't do it. I've only been maybe 2 or 3 times. So it's something that's kind of foreign to me. I enjoy watching. I got a lot of buddies that take pictures and videos and stuff of duck hunting. So it's something I kind of want to learn about and dive into. And if you're interested, you're going to hear about it today. So Jackson, just do a little introduction, man, and take it away.
For sure. So, yeah, Jackson Johnston with Lone Star Wetlands out of Paris, Texas. We're about an hour and a half northeast of Dallas, Texas, where I was born and raised. Been duck hunting my entire life, as everyone has, as typically as invested as I am in the sport. This is my 23rd season coming up here. And we struck out and got lucky and found Lone Star Wetlands in the fall of 2010, and we closed in fall of 2009 and closed in the spring of 2010. About 4 months later, started as a single parcel, picked up a big lease, which we ended up landlocking by making acquisitions all the way around it, put a permanent easement through it, and now we're, just kind of leasing until we end up making the acquisition on the actual leasehold property. And, we're just picking up acquisition after acquisition around it. And right now we're sitting at about 1,000 acres on the North Sulphur River. And we've got an assortment of leases in the Red River Valley as well that we've been super fortunate to land. So it's all came together over the course of about 13 years, really ramped up into speed in 2020 when we went into commercial agriculture. We made an acquisition that we pipelined about 1.5 miles off the North Sulphur River here. And, we've got water rights. And so we pump and irrigate. We've been blessed to put about 100, 125, and 150 bushel corn crop on this thing. And, we've typically put about 1.5 acre of water on it every year. And, we've held anywhere from 10 to 25,000 ducks on it. And it's turned into a phenomenal operation. We're very proud of it. And, we're going to continue to invest. We don't necessarily run commercial. We invite a couple, 2-3 family groups a year. Just to offset the, immense amount of hemorrhaging that we do. But, it's really just to invest back into sport and enjoy it with our friends and family. And we've had a incredible journey over, the last decade and a half. We'll hopefully continue it on for another decade and a half and plus more.
That sounds like a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of hard work.
All I can think about this whole time was that's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of invested time.
Yeah, it 100% is something that you got to dedicate your life to. I've worked remote stints versus in-office stints, and, having remote or hybrid flexibility with, other companies is always a great thing to have. I see myself committing 3 or 4 evenings or early mornings a week, to fulfill this operation. And, we're not dipping our hands back in by any means. So, always have to work for someone else. So, kind of where we found ourselves. I mean, I was, literally walking cornrows about an hour before this podcast, took a shower, threw on a clean T-shirt, and got ready to rumble.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
That.
It's really cool, especially like for us, because we both have ag backgrounds. I mean, we grew up in F4H and FFA and all that kind of stuff. I mean, from land judging to horse judging, I did all that stuff. So ag really has, like a good foundation for both of us. I mean, like I said, grew up, hauling hay and all that kind of stuff. And then, never got on the commercial side or like plant actual farming, but like always had a huge respect for it and, knowledge of it also. So, I mean, it's real cool to see that side getting merged with the outdoor side because, I mean, it's farming. I mean, it is. It takes crops. It takes substance for the animals to live around. So it's really cool how you put those two together and like are making a living at it.
Totally agree 100%. The waterfowling is unbelievable fun. When we're holding 20,000 ducks out here, it's a phenomenon. But that being said, the killing is great and the camaraderie of having our buddies out there is great, but the farming is where it's at, man. I am just sick and bit by the farming bug, if you will. Throwing up that first big stand of corn, life changed for me, basically. And, I respect all the, true and big farmers that really keep this world going around. And, it was great to see Joe Rogan's shout out saying that farmers are 100% legit. I love to see that. Yeah, man. It's the lifestyle. It's the lifestyle for me, at least. And I know that, most people, if they could sit in that big tractor all day, they would, man. It's about as good as it gets.
Right.
I love to hear that.
For sure, man.
Super refreshing.
Yeah, especially like, being in our generation, you hear that all the time. It's like ag and farming's going out the door, and you hear about, family farms and stuff are breaking up. But it's cool, like you said, it's another avenue to still farm, along with the ducks and stuff. But all that is to me is just adaptation. You're adding new things and different streams of income or different things to keep farming at the core of it. But that's real cool, man. So does your family have a history of farming, or kind of were you the first one?
My father was very knowledgeable about it. He is actively practicing attorney. He wants to farm in the retirement, but he really put me in the position to go cultivate the relationships to really gather the knowledge. He kind of gave me that baseline framework, and then the moon was the limit from there, if you will. And I went out, I shook hands and got in touch with the right people, made the right partnerships, and next thing I knew, I was in John Deere 8Rs, running deep, 30-row corn rigs and having a great time, and truly the time of my life, to be honest. And to touch on your point earlier with the small farms breaking up, I mean, it really is. It's something to reckon with for sure. It's pretty insane how expensive the game has gotten, but I mean, it's all in good purpose because our agricultural practices have gotten phenomenal. I mean, what these farmers can do, even in the worst of conditions, is it's pretty insane how successful some of these farmers can be in really tough binds, and still put up really nice stands. Especially with it being a international market, there's money to be made. So of course, the smaller we're going to get rooted out eventually, but some of it's regulated, and it's not necessarily regulated in the best way. So it, some people take a hit when they probably shouldn't.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Like I said, we keep up with that stuff just because I used to. Like, I honestly, like, growing up junior high and high school, I used to watch the market day report every morning before school, just to watch the commodities and stuff, just because, So like I said, every now and then I've kind of slacked off on it here lately because I've been pretty busy, but like I really enjoy like keeping up with that kind of stuff. And then Megan worked in ag insurance for a while, so
nice.
We, like I said, we know what you're talking about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a conversation about that in the future with you, Megan, if you ever have availability for a phone call. Love to, love to pick your brain a little bit for sure.
I was on the development side, so I did research and development for new products.
Gotcha.
And then we also had a sister insurance company too.
Yeah, so. I mean, farming is they're all obviously is a huge just kind of insurance game with it now as well, where you're kind of just rushing to hit windows, whether or not you're even going to be successful on it. The government really just wants to see seed in the ground in places and not see seed in the ground in other places. I don't know if that's been completely noticed by everyone yet, but it's kind of the trend.
Not everybody, but we
it's pretty unique how farmers are able to hedge themselves via the insurance processes now. It's extremely interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, for sure. We were watching Lee Lakowski, and he was talking about kind of like the CRP deal that they have up there with the whitetails and stuff. And he was talking about how when he's like, when the government was paying, he said it in the video, but he was like, when the government was paying me not to plant here, it was a whole lot better because, we managed it and blah, blah, blah for CRP. And I was just like, I paused the video and I looked at Megan and I was like,
did you hear what he just said?
Do you hear what he just said? Like you listening to that, right?
Yeah.
The government paid him to hunt, basically to hunt whitetails in that spot instead of planting corn.
Yeah, so that's kind of how the WRP and CRP programs work. They basically place the government easement on it, and they want to take it out of production so it can grow back into, the natural ecosystem in which it would have been if it was ever put into commercial production. So we have an assortment of WRP on our place, but we still kind of work tightly with the USDA and the NRCS on those parcels because they actually do require some maintenance as far as some of the trees that kind of grow in there, and then we still like to put up if any type of agriculture at all, we'd like to try and work with them and get some in there. There's some areas where it stays inundated, and by the time it would even naturally dry out, nothing's going to actually get back up and grow. So we take the water off early and, designate those areas, and then we come back in and, get water back on as quickly as possible every year. So,
Okay.
yeah. But that's kind of that's the system on it, man. Just take it out of production and, let the earth produce what it was meant to produce in that area.
Yeah, definitely, man. So going into it, like, what crops are y'all growing on y'all's properties? Is there pretty much tailored for the ducks? But yeah, like what are y'all growing?
Yeah, so for all of our WRP, if we're not going to do any row ag, whether we're denied or approved on that specific year, we use one product from a company called Specialty Seed in Anguilla, Mississippi, and it's called Chihuahua Millet. It's going to be commonly known as one of the greater things for waterfowl in the coming years. I've been using it for the better part of a decade, if not longer, but it's one of the most unbelievable crops for waterfowl that I think the waterfowlers can touch. It's you kind of can put it on a mud flat or you can drill it, but it's extremely successful on a mud flat and still produce extremely high bushels to the acre. And it grows in standing water as well. So basically you could drain one of these areas, hit it immediately with this seed, let it germinate for 4, 5, 6 days and just get a little tid on it, and you can catch on water again. And, in 2 months, it's going to be 6 foot tall. And I mean, it's ready to rock and roll. It's really 120-day maturity. I made a video about this a couple days ago, but we've noticed we've been able to do 60 to 80 days on it if we have standing water irrigation, and we put the standing water everywhere we can. Before teal season, and we just go shallow with it, let it grow tall. And, throughout September and October, we'll let that water climb, to its max depth, for early season waterfowl in November. And then it'll, it's so strong that it'll stay standing up until January. So we might as well have that big water early November, and we're rocking and rolling for the whole season. So that's what we do for all the WRP primarily. And then the farmed wetlands, it's either going to be a row corn or sorghum or beans or a combination of 2 or the 3, depending on the field. We've got 4 fields in production right now, and we're looking to get 2 to 3 multi-100-acre row ag fields in the coming years for looking at about another 1,000 acres. So we'll double in size on the main farm. All the stars align, and we'll continue to pick up whatever leases are available if they're in our liking, if you will. Kind of have we have what we have here, so we try and get a completely diversified piece of habitat. If we are going to pick up a lease, we don't want it to look like anything that we have out here. We try and get a totally different look, so it's kind of hard to come by for what we want, but won't say it on the air, but I know what I want, and we'll go for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. Like, I kind of feel like if you know what you want, you already kind of have a leg up because you know you're figuring out how to put it together versus like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what, like you're adding questions to the process that, are not needed, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
So we have like a buying agent realtor who's an interior part of our organization. And so he handles all of our leasing outreach, or he handles all of our, farm side acquisition work. And if you looked at his on-X for our potential lease acquisitions for the future, you just see this band of pins over the course of like 250 square miles. It's unbelievable. And it's like, he's looked at everything you could possibly imagine. He'll be a groomsman or best man in my wedding. He's one of my top guys. Just a right hand man. He's taken care of business for years and years and years for us.
So, like, how big is y'all's team? And like I said, like, with all this that you're talking about, man, it takes a team of people to do this. So, like, how big is your team? How'd you put it together? How'd you loop these other people into this dream that you've had, for so long?
Yeah, I mean, relationships have been burned, and relationships restored as well. Oh man, so we've got an ownership team of 4, me and my father, and then my buddy from high school and his father, essentially a brick house. And then I've got 4 buddies. One who started a company recently, the Outdoor Log. He's a little bit newer. And then an additional, which a lot of people have listened to this podcast will know more of, it's called Hoosier Outdoors, Out of Stater Outdoors. And he has trained a German Shepherd to a waterfowl hunt. And he, even exposes the dog Smokey to, the extreme conditions of northern Kansas, Nebraska, and South Dakota. Even up into, late January, early February, where, -0, or pardon me, below zero temperatures are, out, and the dog is phenomenal. And, so probably one of the only German Shepherd waterfowl dogs in the country, if not the only. Super
That's the first time I've ever heard of that for sure.
So Hoosier and the Outdoor Log, they kind of run all of our media. You'll see them tagged in every post that LSW makes. They might not have taken a photo, but they'll still be in there. They kind of just head the framework for that. And then I've got my right hand real estate guy, and my last guy for our 8th gentleman is his name's Trent Force. He and I actually met through social media, before social media was social media, so basically what that looked like is, he and I follow each other on Instagram in like 2010, man, and then we always watch each other, like what he was doing in South Texas when I was doing in North Texas for the better part of a decade. And then, 2019, he hit me up and he was like, man, what are we doing? We got to connect, you know what I mean? And so he came up here with Taylor, who runs the Outdoor Log, and that was the hunt that I mentioned to you where we shot that band of pintail. We came in and we hammered them, and my dad loved them, and my buddies that have been growing up with me running the thing, Hoosier, and my real estate guy Parker Ciccarelli, we were all like, yep, these are our guys, and that's kind of where we ended up. So there's 8 of us that are, directly involved with this. We have a big group that we could put 20 guys in, but, all of our stuff's fitted for a dozen guys. And, so we always had the availability to get 4 more people in there, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we like to keep it close circle anyways. It's great to have, 20 guys that you can know and trust, of course, but our group of 8 guys is it's a brick house, man. We're people are gonna be really excited what they see in the next 48 months coming from us. Next 3-4 years, it's gonna be phenomenal. Yeah, we're really excited. We're just getting started. Since 2020 when we went into commercial ag, it's been a ride, but we're really about to kick up the turbo.
Yeah, man, and like I tell people all the time, and I've mentioned it on the podcast before, like, I mean, as much as people harp on social media about all the bad things, and you obviously can't ignore those bad things that happen through social media, but like the opportunity to meet people that you probably would never meet, and like the friendships, the relationships that you can build on that, like it's beyond what anything else obviously on the earth has ever been like. Because like I've been in that same situation. Like I've met people on social media and like gotten to go do cool opportunities, gotten to hook them up with cool opportunities and all that kind of stuff. And it's the best thing about social media, in my opinion. And I think it outweighs all the rest of the stuff that goes on too. But like you said, like with that team that you have, man, like having them close and everything, and everybody is on the same mission, trying to do the same thing. It's a really cool thing to see. Like I grew up playing sports, so like anything about a team and like, working together to like accomplish a goal, like I'm all about it, man.
Yeah. It all boiled down to, evaluating everyone I grew up hunting with, and then knowing who could really come to the table as far as helping me build this thing, but also like if I were to die, be able to rally behind my old man and keep the thing going. We've been around for 13 years is enough to, be really proud of, but I mean, I want this to be a 25-year, 30-year deal at least. To touch on the social media stuff, it is a very, very divided, controversy. Because, I've met some, phenomenal people through social media, and it's helped build our business and it's helped build a lot of people's business. But, there's like the public land aspect to it where, too much stuff has just been given away that probably shouldn't. And, Kansas is, laying the hammer as far as their regulations for public land, non-resident waterfowling now because, Kansas has become the new Arkansas. And, it's moved up as far as Montana now as well. So it's something that's just kind of where you're just teetering on that threshold of it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. I've always just kind of stayed neutral. I mean, I'm probably one of the more, out there guys as far as, his Instagram, like, we're professional and sometimes we're completely unprofessional, with what we post. So we're having a phenomenal time with it. And, at the end of the day, I can kind of post what I want because we built this, tooth and nail, and we don't owe anybody nothing. And, we don't have to, I don't need a client at the end of the day. I have a very, very, very nice book of clients that are kind of like more family clients. And, that's really all we need. But we love to cultivate new relationships, the right ones always.
Yes, sir. And
it's nice to hear that you cultivate the existing ones.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
But like you said, like with the out of state stuff, like you said, you hear about it more and more. They're like shutting down and having regulations in different spots and cutting down on tags and things. And I mean, like, I understand it. I do think that if a resident should have privilege, I guess you could say, over non-residents, but non-residents are still, need to be in there and thought about also. But, that's why we have to voice our opinion in that and, go to those meetings and show up and do what we can to make sure that that's understood.
Yeah,
because I mean, we all know that for any state out west, the most hunters that are coming to any of those states are coming from Texas. I mean, you can add up all the Eastern Seaboard, all that stuff, still does not amount to the same amount of hunters that are coming from Texas that want to go to other places.
That's right.
And by all means, come to Texas and hunt here too.
That's without a doubt. All the Arkansas guys in Mississippi State, the Mississippi guys, man, they're going to go down with that land. They will always hunt their spots down there till the end of time. And I see it as much as you do. Texas, Georgia, South and North Carolina, they're going and raiding Kansas, South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma. And I mean, they'll hit Arkansas as well, but they're hammering the Central Flyway. And so I guided up in Kansas full time as an owner operator from 16 to 21 or 22, and so I've seen it. And people ask me how I think about it. I'm like, man, I'd let those Kansas guys, hammer the land that they were born and raised on, and tell everyone else to, oblige to the rules, man. I've seen it, and I was lucky to hunt up there when I did, and now it's it is just like Arkansas for both the private side and the public side up there. The private stuff is heavily competed to try and get permission or to buy a day lease on it up there now, and the public stuff, 24 boats per ramp at all the lakes and refuges in Kansas, man. And so that's just kind of how it is now. You're used to going up there and there's one or two guys, hey, how are you this morning? You want to share coffee? Let's talk before we go out there. And now those guys are like, oh man, I've got 25 guys at every ramp on my lake that I've been at for 40 years. So you got to feel for them.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. But so like you got it in Kansas, kind of tell me what that's like. Cause like I said, I've hunted ducks a couple times, one not so successful. One we were just filming, so I didn't get to shoot ducks, but it was very successful.
Really cool.
And got to shoot some really cool footage and see some good dogs work. But like, kind of tell me what that's like. Cause you see some videos, and I've had friends that have created content for different guides and stuff, but that's a grind, man, being a duck guide for sure.
For sure. I mean, so it's, running from, our guys are running from like October 20th until February 15th, and then still doing some late season conservation work. So, really hunting until the end of March. But, I was up there from basically December 1 through January 15, rolling for 45 days. We had our most premier clients in between December 1 and January 15th for ducks in Kansas. And it was definitely a grind. With how intensive I've gone in Texas now, I'd say that I get more burnt out here just because I've got, 50 different moving parts now versus just taking care of 6 guys that are going hunting. You just drive so much in Kansas, and it doesn't feel like you're driving around Texas. Though, Texas is a huge state, and you can drive 600 miles, I believe, in, point to point in the state of Texas and, feel like you're driving for days. But, you can drive up in Kansas, chase the ducks, and, you get back and you're like, holy smokes, we just drove 250 miles, and it doesn't feel like you did at all. You know what I mean? But, it does still take a toll on you, and you're going just area to area, just up and down, just head block, square mile after square mile, trying to get clients on birds up there. And, you do drive 800, 900 miles a week sometimes, scouting for these clients. So it gets pretty exhausting, and the elements are a little bit more challenging. So you get, you get wore out, man. The air will get taken out of you up there, 30, 40, 50 mile an hour winds when it's 5 degrees, man.
Yeah.
Especially when you're off chasing, big volley birds, and you're in a field hunt, and you've got geese all over the place, and the dogs can't clean it up. You got to go. You got to go get birds before more birds come, and you're sprinting your tail off. Oh yeah. I don't know if I need to do that anymore. I'd be gassed.
Crazy.
I'd be gassed. I work 24/7 here, but I'd be gassed. Oh man, yeah. Running.
So like,
go ahead.
So when you're driving, are you like looking? You're looking for birds. So on these properties, you're just going and then finding the birds and then asking for permission, or like you already have these places in mind. You kind of know where they come year to year, or how does that work?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both.
Or how did that work?
It was a little bit of both. Unfortunately, we only went for 6 years. We were on the verge of being like, hey, you need to either be all in or you need to just be out. And we were successful in all of our partners' lives when we needed to be when it came to that. So at the tail end, as I was mentioning, we started to get some stuff placed under lease, so we kind of knew where to go. Knew some areas that always did have ducks. North Kansas, and also you could just follow birds off refuges, and they'll go to the dry field corn and feed for the afternoon, and then you call the farmer or landowner and offer what you could or ask for permission, and try and hash out a deal for the next day. So it was a combination of just knowing where ducks are going to be and then following them as well.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience.
Yeah, so like I said, I've seen like videos and stuff of it, and like you said, the running and getting the birds and coming back to the blind and waiting for them to come in again, and they're circling around. I mean, like, what? I guess my question is, what's been or can you explain to me the best day of duck hunting that you've had?
Man.
No pressure.
The best day of duck hunting I think I've ever had. That's a very, very tough question. I've had a couple of phenom hunts. This past season, third to last day of season, we shot a 9-man limit of greenheads, and only 55 birds came. We shot 45, all mallards, and we had them on a string badly. 18 mile an hour southwest wind, sunshine, bluebird, and we just had them tricked, man. We just had them tricked, and there was no question. Every time they came in on a string, we hit them hard. And then I had a big 9-man limit of mallards on water in Kansas. I've shot much higher than that on big commercial hunts. We had a 9-man limit on a dead-end oak timber pond. There's probably 4 or 5 big, 200-year-old oaks in North Kansas that were still alive, and then most had receded and died off and had collapsed. And I mean, it was a nasty hole. And we pulled up first thing in the morning. Head guy didn't want to go. He had been, just going and going and going. Tate Hartman with RA Legacy, he's a phenomenal guide, and we went into this hole that we knew there had been ducks back there. We just had Wild Rose Kendall's hunt with us 3 days before, but it had gotten really nasty.
Nice.
It snowed like 7 days before that, and the road going up to this thing was just washed. There was no in and out, and it was like, if you wanted to walk into this thing, it was like a 2-mile walk to get there, maybe 2.5 miles. There's no way you could run a commercial hunt on this thing. See, we just had to let it sit and hope there still be ducks there, and after we had, went and run and gun the area for 5 or 6 days, and we finally went back in there. We probably shouldn't have went back in there because we almost got stuck. We had the trailer with us, had to get 3 A-frames. We still had a big 6-7 man group of clients, photographer, a couple guides. So, it ended up being 10 or 11 of us. We also had Josiah Holt with Major League Fowl, phenomenal company. And we pulled up, trailers just fishtailing all over the road. I'm like, man, we're not going to make it. These clients are going to kill us. This is going to be just a really, really ugly deal this morning. But we finally made it up to this hole, and the mallards were roosting in it, and they were coming out by the thousands. We had the headlights on it, and probably 15,000 mallards got off this thing. And, we got set up. Josiah Holt got the camera about 30 yards behind us, and then they had 2 more cameras in the blind. And, man, we hammered them all morning until we were done and out of there. It was another bluebird. The mallards were just coming on a string. They had no idea we were there. We were in the shadows the whole day until we were finished up. It was just, we hammered them. And, this camera behind us, my late dog, Django, you can see him every time on the left side. You can see his head just watch these mallards go down one by one by one by one by one. And then he would go and come back and drop it. You didn't have to work the dog at all. And he was getting every single last bird that we shot. That is saying, so it was one of those just like perfect hunts. I'd say just the greasiest banger I've ever been on, though, was Goose Reaper Guided Outdoors with Shelby Anderson. We hit him badly. We shot 145 ducks and geese with 18 guns. I think this was the fall of 2015, maybe, or maybe the fall of 2014. But I mean, man, we smoked them. We had lessers, we had specks, we had snows, pintails, mallard, and widgeon for a total of 145, 18 guns. It was just one of those things where we'd have big volleys come in, and then it was just insanity. You've got, what is that, 18, 36, 54. 54 shells of volley. And I mean, everyone's dumping everything they got at this thing until they called the hunt off. And so, we probably listened to a better part of 2,500, rounds go off that morning. So, I mean, it was just true insanity. True insanity. So that was the greasiest. That sounds so much fun. Yeah, that was the greasiest banger that I've ever been on for sure. It was just silly.
I love you said that earlier. I was like, the greasiest banger.
Yeah,
that's a heck of a way to say that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's funny, man. Because
oh man.
Yeah, right. It fits perfect, man. It fits perfect. But I don't know if you know, I grew up, my first thing in the outdoors was shooting shotguns. So I shot sporting clays and all that kind of stuff. And, I've dove hunted, done, upland, a little bit of upland stuff. And then, but still that duck hunting thing, man, I want to experience that for sure. Cause I love shooting shotguns and anything that's flying in the air.
Exactly.
I'm down to do it.
Yeah, without a doubt. We'll be happy to slip you up into LSW later on this winter. We'll have a good time. It's like I mentioned earlier, it's about to get really good because we finally put ourselves in a position to where everything we touch is going to be a 14-day rested hole, and we've never been anywhere in the realm of that. We've been extremely successful, but our maximum resting day on a hole has been 8 days the last 3 years, and and not only will it be 14 days rested, but we'll have hunted a lot in the meantime. And we're still going to hunt every Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the entirety of the season. And we'll have a Tuesday or Wednesday opportunity once a week. And everything we touch will be 14 days rested. So we're extremely excited. We've grown exponentially.
Yeah. And I mean,
it's going to be good. We're excited.
Yeah, man. Dude, having that mindset to give it that rest like that, that just shows that y'all are really in it for the long haul.
Absolutely.
Because it'd be real easy to grow this up real quick and get all these properties set and just, get too excited and just start
hunt the heck out of it.
Hunt the heck out of it. And then, you're setting yourself back years when you just could have, just have a little patience and just play the long game, man. Play the long game. Like you said, you want to hunt for years and years and years, not just, have all them awesome days for a few years and blow it out.
Yeah, 2 points on that. One, you're totally right. I'm sick to my stomach about some of my areas because, I'm used to hunting some of my stuff, maybe 12 or 14 times the whole season, and now I know that I'm only going to hunt it about 6 times. It's it kind of makes you sick to my stomach a little bit because you're just not going to get that look as often as you're used to. But, it's for the better part of it. And then, as far as, the pressure like you're mentioning, we've already, been pretty invested on that, but we know that we just got to continue to slow it down and continue to branch out and, divide and conquer, if you will. So our big cornfield where we hold the 5-figure numbers of ducks on a regular basis, I've probably only hunted that thing 7 or 8 times since we built it in 2020. You know what I mean? So it's not an often thing. You're in there, whether it's a good hunt or not, you just need to enjoy the view. I mean, it's awesome to be walking down row corn especially on a big field like that. It's not a small field. It's about 50 acres of water with sandy corn on it. It's phenomenal. So, walking through that it's a sight to see. So whether the hunt's good or bad, it's something I still enjoy every time I rip it. I've kind of figured out you don't really want to go in there unless it's just one of those nasty afternoons where they're going to come to roost early. They sit there all day, but they kind of leave scattered. They roost double what sits there on the day. But trying to hunt it on the morning is just one of those things. You might watch it one day and think, oh, it could be a really good hunt tomorrow. But when it's a giant conglomerate like that, you just have thousands of birds. They kind of start running together, and it's just one of those things. Like, you can get put into a position where you pull the trigger. One, you just blew this thing out for 10 days. But two, you're not going to see anything for the rest of the day because you just have that full conglomerate. You just busted the whole thing out of there. So it's like, you want to be put in a position where, for whatever reason, everything got out of there, but they're going to be coming back in a small amount per group and early in the day, like maybe coming back at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And that's the only way to kill them out of that thing. So we haven't hunted it much, but it's probably better that we just let them sit there and use it how they want it. The more it's untouched, the more we're going to get closer to that 20, 25,000 duck range. And that's where we really want this one to be at on a regular basis. So it's one of those things, just like ignore that it's there. If it's a nice day and you can get the camera out, maybe slip up there and get some photos and then get the heck out of there.
Yeah, man, that takes a lot of patience, man. And but you said in a lot of knowledge too, and like being able to see that how those ducks are like leaving together, and then being able to say like, okay, hey, we can pressure these ducks and we can do this over here, but then these ducks over here we can't do that with. Yeah. It's a whole different game. And like I said, I've never really hunted ducks, and I don't know the science to it, but I do know that it takes a lot. Like even from that aspect to the decoys and how they're set up, like. For the longest time, I'd look and be like, oh, yeah, they're just putting decoys out. But then, like, slowly later on, I figured out, like, no, there's a certain way that they're putting these out to look like a certain thing. And then it just, like, blew my mind because you could be putting out in some of those fields, like in Kansas, I've seen videos, there's hundreds and hundreds of decoys. Oh, yeah. That's, like, once again, coming back to that, a whole lot of work.
Yeah, without a doubt. We ran spreads up to like 100 dozen, 150 dozen sometimes up in Kansas. It's just stupid. It's like you set it up, you're like, man, this better be a good hunt, or I am just going to be fried after this thing. And there's just, there's going out and expecting a big day and having a bad hunt, but then there's going and picking up 150 dozen after not pulling the trigger, and you're just like, what are we doing out here? It's that's when it gets 1,800 decoys. You're like, all right, this is a little bit ridiculous. You're not even done picking up till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You didn't pull the trigger, and you're like, for lack of a better word, we fucked up.
Yeah.
Guys picking up 1,800, you're screwed. You're screwed.
Oh man, I
can't.
Man.
You think you need it? You got 30,000 snogies. 40, 50,000 sniggies out there, and you're like, we're bringing the hammer tomorrow morning, and then, they switch fields, or, the weather just made them weird. You could have the hide perfect, and the weather just makes them weird, and they just do something and it just doesn't work. It's just over. It doesn't take long to learn. Sometimes it's like in the first 30 minutes, that first group comes, you're like, don't know what it is, but I don't think there's anything we're going to be able to do. And then you just sit there sick to your stomach all morning. That's a good description of hunting in Arkansas or Kansas fields for me. You're either wheeling and dealing or something like that's going to happen, and you're just like, what in the world? You're just going to sit there sick for 3 or 4 hours and then go pick up 1,800 decoys.
Yeah, I thought like blowing a stock on a mule deer or something would be like heartbreaking, but like all you got to do then is just like walk back to camp or walk back to the truck, but you're not having to pick up 1,800 mule deer decoys before you do that.
Mule deer spotted stock where it's at. I've always been a whitetail guy. I've got a big old muley mount over here that we found dead on an old ranch of ours. I put on a couple of heroic whitetail stocks as well, but now the mule deer stocks out west, that's what's up. Yeah. That's hard to beat.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
it's high on my list, man. We went back in Idaho for an archery hunt, me and my buddy Jared, and we didn't get one. We hiked through the snow and did all that kind of stuff, and it was a lot of fun. I want to go back. He's got a rifle tag this year, so I think we're gonna head back in October, and he's gonna go try and get one with his rifle. But yeah, man, dude, mule deer, elk are cool, but I'm definitely a mule deer guy.
I can do that,
That's the way
man.
I feel.
I can do that. I can go for 10, 12 days, just run the camera and just walk or ride horseback. I've gone on like multiple expeditions in the Rocky Mountains, in like the desert of Utah. Camping for week plus, and just hiking through it. And I love that stuff, man. I've found moose paddles, and big mule deer sheds, and just
so
all
cool.
over the Rocky Mountains, and I love that stuff, man. I like the fly fish as well. If you could ever run a combination of like a fly fish and a mule deer hunt, I'm all game on that.
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah, that would be
and
pretty
just
cool, man. I was like, I need to work on my.
Yeah, go ahead.
I need to work on my fly fishing.
Yeah.
We both do. Barrett always gets onto us for
Yeah,
that.
once you got the form though, it's really not a hard thing. I started doing fly fishing when I was young, and I haven't in years, but I know I can pick that thing up tomorrow and be all right. And I might not be flawless. I might not be out there like we're gonna put this guy on the page of Outdoor Mag, but he's gonna catch a couple fish, and then he's gonna have a nice fire, and he's gonna be cooking up something crazy on the side of that river, and then he's gonna shoot a mule deer in the morning.
Heck yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. That'd be a dream day for sure. Just a nice trout laying next to a mule deer backstrap, just cooking over an open fire.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I just wish I could head there right now.
Without a doubt.
Well, I wanted to ask you this, man. I know duck guys, they always have their favorite duck. What's your favorite? I know a lot of guys like mallards, and might venture off into another one. But what's your favorite?
Yeah, so for me, it's the pintail. They're the most endangered, but we just hold a giant conglomerate of them at this point. I've taken photos of the banded ones. I've shot banded ones out here. It's really unique because it's like anywhere between January 5th and the end of the season. And, sometimes earlier it's like, eventually, 10 or 15,000 pintails are going to show up for the rest of the season. They're not going to leave even when you shoot at them because we don't hunt that big refuge area. So it's kind of like you're just sitting there at Christmas. You're like, oh, man, it's coming. It's coming. It's going to show up. And then, like, they get here and you're like, ooh, golly, we're hemmed up with them. And it's really nice because sometimes you don't actually know that they've hit, the big corn yet. And they might show up on the morning and you're like on a different area of the property and you're in the blind, and then that big burst, wave of 300 or 400 pintails hits, and you're like, oh man, I think they're showing up right now. And then you light into them, you hit them heavy, you might knock down 6 or 7, everyone's getting excited, because you just don't get to do that very often anymore. You're sitting 300,000 pintails over the threshold, and I'm sitting here like, I think 300,000 pintails move, but through LSW every year. So it's kind of like it's an eyebrow raiser at this point. So you get that big volley of pintails, and you're getting excited, and then you're driving out of the property up to the lodge, and then you see them going in by the hundreds or by the thousands in the big corn, and they showed up, and you're just you're juiced. You're excited at that point. So for me, that's the pintail, and it probably used to be the mallard. I've shot enough of them. I'd rather shoot my one pintail at this point every day. I can go out there and just shoot 3 or 4 with a couple buddies and just shoot that one drake a piece and bail out.
Pretty cool. So what's what kind of gear and stuff do y'all use, or what's your pick on like waders and stuff like that, man?
Buddy. Man, I've got everything Sitka, and I've got everything Shin. Shin was way more financially generous to me. They sent me all sorts of stuff. So shout out to those guys. All the Sitka stuff's great as well. I've got the Sitka waders. I've got the Shim waders. So I've kind of tested them both out. I'm going to have to say it's these guys here for sure. Sitka waders are still nice. Really nice. So I've got everything Sitka. I'll wear either one.
I hope so.
Yeah, you would think.
That's like I see the price tag on them. I hope they're pretty nice.
Of the two, and then I don't get reposted or liked or anything because both companies are like, oh man, look at that. Yeah, but
competitors. Yeah,
I had to say it, and so there's, more like to the northwestern of the country. I kind of see where Sitka just kind of has its place, like up towards Montana, Kansas, South Dakota, and stuff like that. But like for the guy like me and in the timber and in the corn, and just kind of being on a farm. Shin is kind of the vibe. It's just more of that. Running a bottomland operation. And we're a bottomland riverfront farm, and so it's just kind of my vibe. I always take care of my stuff there, and I'm happy to wear my sick stuff too, and I'm eager to. I don't want to put too much wear on either or, so I'm kind of split. If I had to lean one way and I had to rule one out, I'm gonna have to go with my Shin boys for sure. Yeah.
All right. What kind of shotgun do you shoot?
Benelli.
The ultimate question.
I'm a big Beretta guy as well.
Okay.
I've got a couple.
Oh, man. No, man. I shot Browning, so I'm a big Browning guy, so I'm not really. Yeah. My list probably goes Browning, Benelli. I like that.
Browning, Benelli.
I don't know. Beretta's let me down before.
Brownings are devastating, man. That humpback, it's bad in the boat.
That's the one I'm thinking about getting, man. I had an over and under Synergy Classic that I shot sporting clays and stuff with, and it kind of, shit the bed on me last dove season. So,
oh man, in the middle of one of the best.
Yeah, like right when they started flying, man, like right before sunset, and it broke on me, and I haven't been able to get parts for it. So I'm thinking about getting that Browning, that A5, that humpback, and just go that route.
We've got the new A5 and the old A5. They're both phenomenal. Super Blast. We've got a lot from Benelli, Beretta, and Browning. I do like the Brownings a lot, actually. We have an old B80.
Yeah.
It's a vintage, and that gun is a hammer. I'm talking, you're clapping everything that comes by. You're clapping everything.
Yeah.
And I don't get to use it anymore. My old man took it out of my hands. He was like, my father brought me this. You got to use it for a couple of years, but that's it. We're not putting it out in the field anymore. I'm like, you shouldn't have done that. I was like, that.
Yeah.
I could triple on the regular with that. I mean, I'm pretty reliable for a double. I'm very, very reliable for a double, but with that gun, I'm very, very reliable for a triple. It's just deadly. I don't know if it runs a choke. It's it might be a 28 or a 30 on the humpback, and
Yeah. I like shooting 30-inch barrels. That's what I had on my Synergy Classic, so that's what I'm going to try and get this time too. 28s are nice, but I still like, I want to be able to reach out there and touch them.
I think 28 is the vibe. You can run a 26 with a full or an improved, and it's way low too.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on the season you're in.
Meanwhile, over here with my Remington.
Yeah. But those are good too, man.
I love my gun.
Well, that's cool, man. Well, man, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This is going to be exciting, man. I definitely want to do another one with you and kind of like talk about season, different ducks and things. Cause like I said, man, I'm clueless on it, and I'm just going to be selfish and use you as a resource to learn about it and do it on the podcast as we go, man. But that's real cool, dude. Dude, this is an awesome conversation. I truly learned a whole lot about ducks today that I didn't know before.
We'd be happy to hop back on. I think it'd be awesome. Maybe sometime towards Christmas, halfway through the season, me and my, kind of 4 outside ownership team guys, Hoosier and the outdoor logging, and my real estate gentleman.
Dude, yeah.
All of us younger guys, we all hop on. My dad and his partner, they're obviously not going to hop on, but we can get the real crew of media guys and killers on. Us 5, and we'll we'll have a really good podcast. We'll do a late night, like 9:30 kind of deal, but.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so down for that.
Yeah,
like that's like I said, just the whole purpose of the podcast, man. I just sit down and talk to people about hunting, fishing, photos, media, like all of it that pertains, to kind of what we do. So it's pretty cool, man.
We've got all the good, like very close frame lenses, and we can get like 2 of them going. And when you come up here, I can schedule for all of them to be up here, and then we can get like multiple cameras going and do like the whole night. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we can definitely put that together.
It'd be like a deluxe Tejas episode.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Tejas Christmas episode.
They're like 16 millimeter lenses, but they're wide view. So we'll get the whole building, going on in there. I've got all sorts of taxidermy and flags and stuff all over the wall, so it'll be a really good vibe. It'll be a pretty podcast for sure.
Dude, I'm pumped for it. I wanted to be here already.
We appreciate y'all's time for sure. We look forward to talking again soon. Cheers.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Same here.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one.